Hello everyone, Glenn here with Schuler Bauer, and in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a professional realtor, not a professional plumber. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk some crap. Or more appropriately, let's talk sewage. More specifically, sewage pumps. Now you may also hear them called effluent pumps, and some people mistakenly call them grinder pumps, which are similar, but not exactly the same. Whatever you call them, they serve a very important and somewhat disgusting job, which is getting your sewage up and out of the house. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with sump pumps if you've ever lived in a home with a basement, and that's what's here on your right. Now, a sump pump's only job is to pump the groundwater that is collected in this well up out of the home and away from the foundation. Now, here on your left is a sewage pump. Its sole purpose is to pump sewage and wastewater up and out of your home and into either the public sewer system or your septic system. Now, not every home is going to have or need a sewage pump, but if you have a bathroom in the basement that's lower than the sewer line that leads out of the home, like this one right here, you're most likely going to need a sewage pump. Now, both of these wells or pits look very similar, but the easiest way to tell the difference between the sump pump and the sewage pump is the sump pump's usually going to have a removable lid, just like this one. Whereas a sewage pump, it should be sealed and bolted down, and the reason for that is to prevent the sewer gases and the foul odors from escaping the pit and entering your home. And I promise you, you do not want that. So for this reason, I'm not going to actually show you the sewage pump today. But if you're really curious, hop on the Google machine, and I'm sure you can find plenty of pictures to see what they look like. So another difference between a sewage pump and a sump pump is that a sewage pump has a bit of a tougher job in that it has to deal with liquids and solids. And I will kind of leave it to your imagination what kind of solids it has to deal with, whereas a sump pump only deals with liquid. I mentioned earlier that many people mistakenly refer to a sewage pump as a grinder pump, so this will be a great place to discuss the difference between the two. So a grinder pump actually grinds and pulverizes the solids and the liquids into a slurry before it pumps it up and out of the house. A sewage pump actually pumps the whole solids into the sewer line. This is why you want to be super careful about what you flush down your basement toilet, or any toilet for that matter. Only toilet paper and man-made solids. And according to the professionals, a sewage pump is sufficient for most residential applications. So you may be wondering why I decided to make a video about sewage pumps of all things, and that's a great question. So a couple of weeks ago, my stepson came running up the stairs and told me that he had flushed the toilet in the basement, and not only did the toilet back up, but we had raw sewage coming up out of the drain of the bathtub. Not good. Upon further inspection, I saw and smelled sewage water coming out of the pit here and flowing onto the basement floor. Now, luckily, he alerted us in time and we were able to contain it just to the unfinished area of the basement. It could have been a much, much bigger and expensive situation. So I immediately knew that we either had an issue with the main sewer line backing up and backflowing into the home, or we had an issue with the sewage pump. After cleaning up the mess and trying to contain it, I called a plumber and we later found out the sewer pump had indeed failed. So in the end, it cost me about $1,200 to have a new sewage pump put in, which I wasn't too happy about. But all in all, I felt extremely fortunate to have caught the problem before we had sewage flowing all over the finished portion of the basement. So how can you avoid dealing with the same situation? Well, to quote Benjamin Franklin, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Those words are just as true today as they were back in the 1700s, especially when it comes to owning a home. So while I had already adopted the practice of replacing my sump pump every 5 years or so, I never thought about replacing the sewage pump. It was kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? Well, according to plumbers I've spoken with, the average life of a sewage pump is 8 to 10 years. So my suggestion would be to replace that sewage pump every 8 years or so if you use it on a regular basis. And maybe you can avoid the crappy situation I recently found myself in. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. If it was helpful and informative to you, I'd ask you to like it and share it with your friends. If you or anyone you know needs a great realtor, give me a call. Now, if you need a great plumber, lose my number. But hey, I know a guy.